The deck of the USS Hornet pitched violently beneath my boots as I gripped the ladder rail, seawater spraying across the flight deck in sheets. It was 7:20 a.m. on April 18, 1942, and we weren't supposed to launch for another 4 hours. But there she was on the horizon, a Japanese patrol boat, her radio antenna bristling like an angry insect as she transmitted our position to the homeland we were meant to surprise. "This is it. Boys," Colonel Doolittle's voice cut through the howling Pacific wind. "We launch now or we don't launch at all." My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the bitter cold and the terrible knowledge that our mission had just become a suicide run. We were still 650 nautical miles from Japan instead of the planned 400. The extra distance meant we'd never make it to the Chinese airfields we'd trained to reach. We'd be flying into the void with barely enough fuel to clear the Japanese coast. I was Lieutenant Robert Lee Hite, 23 years old, from Earth, Texas, population 1,200 when the cotton was good. 6 months ago, I'd been flying training missions over the flat farmland of my youth. Now I was co-pilot of a B-25B Mitchell bomber designated Crew No. 16, call sign the Bat Out of Hell, preparing to bomb the Japanese homeland in the first retaliatory strike since Pearl Harbor. Our pilot was Lieutenant William Gardner Bill Farrow, a steady-handed Southerner from Darlington, South Carolina. At 24, he was barely older than me but flew with the calm precision of a veteran. Behind us, Corporal Jacob David Jake Deshazer from Madras, Oregon, served as our bombardier, while Sergeant Harold Allen Spatz from Labo, Kansas, manned our tail gun position. 4 boys from small American towns, about to attempt something that would either make us heroes or ensure we'd never see home again. The Hornet was pitching in 15-foot swells, green water cascading across her flight deck as she fought through the storm. The wind gauge showed sustained gusts of 30 knots, far beyond safety margins we trained for. But Admiral William Bull Halsey's Task Force 16 had been discovered, and delay meant certain death for 16 crews and the 8,000 sailors aboard the Hornet and her escorts. "Hite, get that bird warmed up," Farrow shouted over the wind, already climbing into the left seat of our Mitchell. The bomber sat heavy on the carrier deck, loaded with 2,000 pounds of incendiary and demolition bombs destined for Tokyo's industrial districts. Every ounce of non-essential equipment had been stripped away and replaced with additional fuel tanks, giving us a theoretical range of 2,400 miles if we flew perfectly and the winds cooperated. I hauled myself up through the belly hatch and into the co-pilot seat, my flight suit already soaked from the spray. The familiar smell of aviation gasoline, hot oil, and electrical equipment filled the cramped cockpit as I began the pre-flight checklist. Outside, the deck crews were positioning themselves for what would become one of the most dangerous carrier launches in naval history. "Oil pressure good," I called out, watching the gauges climb into the green. "Manifold pressure holding steady. Fuel pumps engaged." Farrow nodded, his hands moving with practiced efficiency across the controls. Behind us, I could hear Deshazer and Spatz running through their own checklists, testing bomb bay doors and defensive armament. Every man aboard the 16 B-25s knew the odds we faced. Colonel James Harold Jimmy Doolittle himself had estimated our chances of returning at 50-50, and that was before the early launch. The first bomber, piloted by Doolittle himself, began its takeoff roll at 8:20 a.m. The Hornet's deck officer gave the signal, and the twin Wright R-2600 Cyclone engines roared to full power. Doolittle's Mitchell, heavily loaded with fuel and bombs, seemed to struggle against the headwind as it raced toward the carrier's bow. For a heart-stopping moment, it appeared the bomber might not achieve sufficient lift. Then it cleared the deck by mere feet, disappearing into the gray morning sky. One by one, the bombers ahead of us launched into the storm. Lieutenant Travis Hoover in Crew No. 2 followed Doolittle, then Lieutenant Robert Gray in Crew No. 3. Each takeoff was a knife-edge gamble between physics and fate, the overloaded Mitchells clawing for altitude in the turbulent air above the Pacific. By the time our turn came at 9:19 a.m., the deck was slick with spray and the Hornet was rolling heavily in the mounting seas. The deck crew positioned us carefully, our nose wheel precisely aligned with the white stripe painted down the carrier's centerline. The yellow-shirted launch director raised his flag, and Farrow advanced the throttles to full power. "This is it, boys," he said quietly over the intercom. "Next stop, Tokyo." The Wright Cyclones screamed at maximum RPM, their 1,700 horsepower straining against the wheel brakes. Every rivet in the Mitchell's aluminum skin seemed to vibrate with barely contained energy. Through my side window, I could see the deck crew's faces, young sailors who understood they might be watching us disappear forever into the Pacific gray. The launch director's flag came down. Farrow released the brakes, and we shot forward like a cork from a champagne bottle. The carrier deck rushed beneath us in a blur of gray steel, the sensation of speed overwhelming as we accelerated toward the bow. At 75 miles per hour, Farrow eased back on the yoke, and I felt the main gear lift off. We were airborne, but barely. The Mitchell struggled for altitude in the turbulent air, loaded to nearly 31,000 pounds gross weight. The Hornet fell away beneath us, shrinking to a gray speck on the white-capped ocean. Ahead lay 650 miles of empty Pacific, then the Japanese home islands, and after that, the great unknown of occupied China. We climbed slowly to 200 feet, skimming just above the wave tops to avoid Japanese radar stations that we knew dotted the coastline. The next 4 hours passed in relative monotony, the steady drone of the cyclone engines, the endless gray expanse of the Pacific, and the growing anxiety about our fuel consumption. Every few minutes, I checked our position against the dead reckoning plot, calculating and recalculating our remaining range. The mathematics were unforgiving. We were burning fuel faster than planned, fighting headwinds that hadn't appeared in the weather briefings. At 1:15 p.m., the Japanese coast materialized through the haze, a dark line of mountains rising from the sea. We were approaching Honshu from the southeast, exactly as planned, but our fuel situation had become critical. Below, I could see fishing boats scattered across the coastal waters, their crews undoubtedly radiating word of our approach to shore-based defenses. "There she is," Farrow said quietly, banking slightly to the left as we approached the coastline. The land of the rising sun. Japan spread before us like a detailed model, the countryside serpentine green and peaceful in the afternoon light. Rice paddies formed geometric patterns in the valleys, while traditional villages clustered around Buddhist temples, their pagoda roofs curving gracefully toward the sky. It was difficult to reconcile this pastoral scene with the military machine that had attacked Pearl Harbor just 4 months earlier. We crossed the coast at Inubosaki, maintaining our low altitude to avoid detection. Behind us, scattered across 100 miles of sky, the other 15 bombers of our task force were converging on their assigned targets. Doolittle and the lead elements were already approaching Tokyo from the north, while other crews headed for Yokohama, Nagoya, and Kobe. Our target was Tokyo Shiba District, specifically the industrial facilities surrounding Tokyo Gas and Electric Company. Intelligence reports indicated the area housed critical manufacturing plants producing aircraft engines and electrical equipment for the Japanese war effort. If we could destroy even a portion of these facilities, the psychological impact would far outweigh the material damage. As we flew inland, the peaceful countryside gradually gave way to increasing signs of industrialization. Smokestacks appeared on the horizon, followed by sprawling factory complexes and rail yards crowded with freight cars. The city of Tokyo began to emerge through the haze, a vast urban sprawl that seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions. "Tokyo, dead ahead," I announced over the intercom. 5 minutes to target. In the bombardier's position, De Schizzer was already hunched over his Norden bomb sight, making final adjustments as we approached our bombing run. The incendiary and demolition bombs in our bay were armed and ready, their fusing set for maximum effect against industrial targets. At 2:30 p.m., we began our attack run at 1,500 feet altitude, following a southwest heading that would takus directly over the Shiba district. Below, the city spread out like a vast map, narrow streets lined with traditional wooden buildings interspersed with modern concrete structures and industrial complexes. Bomb bay doors open, dishes are reported. Target acquired. Steady. Steady. Japanese anti-aircraft fire began erupting around us, black puffs of smoke that marked the positions of 75mm and 88mm guns positioned throughout the city. The gunners were firing blindly, apparently caught completely off guard by our low-level approach. Most of their shells burst well above us, creating a deadly umbrella we flew beneath. Bombs away. Deshes are called out at exactly 2:32 p.m. I felt the Mitchell lurch slightly as 4 500-pound bombs fell from our bay, 2 incendiaries and 2 demolition bombs, each destined for the industrial heart of Japan's capital city. Below, I could see our bombs strike the target area in rapid succession, orange fireballs erupting among the factory buildings as the incendiaries ignited fuel tanks and wooden structures. Direct hits. Spats reported from his tail gun position. The whole district is going up in smoke. Pharaoh immediately banked left and began climbing, following our planned escape route towards southwest. Behind us, columns of black smoke rose from the burning industrial complex, visible for miles in the clear afternoon air. We had struck the first blow in America's campaign to bring the war to the Japanese homeland. But our celebration was short-lived. As we cleared the outskirts of Tokyo, our fuel gauges told the story we'd been dreading. The early launch had consumed our margin of safety, and the headwinds we'd encountered over the Pacific had made our situation even more desperate. We had perhaps 3 hours of flight time remaining, not nearly enough to reach the Chinese airfields at Chucho and Yushin. "How's our fuel situation?" Pharaoh asked, though we both already knew the answer. "Not good," I replied, tapping the gauges that showed our tanks nearly 3/4 empty. "Maybe 400 gallons remaining. That gives us about 300 miles range at current consumption." It was a death sentence. The Chinese coast lay more than 600 miles to the west across the East China Sea. Even if we could stretch our fuel to the absolute limit, we'd be flying on fumes long before we reached friendly territory. For the next 2 hours, we flew southwest across the Japanese countryside, gradually climbing to 8,000 feet to improve our fuel efficiency. Below, the landscape transformed from urban sprawl to rural farmland, then to forested mountains as we approached the southern coast of Honshu. Every few minutes, I recalculated our position and fuel consumption, hoping against hope that the mathematics would somehow work in our favor. They didn't. By 4:30 p.m., as we crossed the Japanese coast and headed out over the East China Sea, our fuel gauges were approaching empty. The Cyclone engines continued their steady rhythm, but I knew it was only a matter of time before they began to sputter and die. "We're not going to make it to China," Pharaoh said quietly, voicing what we all knew. "Maybe another hour of flight time, if we're lucky." The East China Sea stretched before us, gray-green water broken by whitecaps in the afternoon wind. Somewhere beyond the horizon lay the Chinese coast and the airfields we'd trained to reach. But it might as well have been on the moon. We simply didn't have the fuel to get there. At 5:45 p.m., about 20 miles off the Chinese coast, our starboard engine began to cough and miss. The fuel gauges showed empty, though we knew there were still a few gallons of unusable fuel sloshing in the tank bottoms. Pharaoh immediately reduced power and began a gentle descent towards sea. "Prepare for water landing," he announced over the intercom. "Deshizer, Spats, secure all loose equipment and assume crash positions." I began the emergency checklist for ditching at sea, though we all knew the B-25 wasn't designed for water landings. The Mitchell's high-wing loading and tricycle landing gear made it particularly unsuitable for ditching, but we had no other choice. The Chinese coast was visible as a dark line on the horizon, tantalizingly close, but impossibly far with our remaining fuel. At 6:20 p.m., with both engines coughing and failing, Pharaoh made the decision that would save our lives. Instead of attempting to ditch in the rough seas, he spotted a small beach on what appeared to be an island or peninsula jutting out from the Chinese mainland. It was our only chance. "Hold on, boys," he called out. "We're going in hard." The Mitchell hit the beach at about 90 miles per hour, far too fast for a safe landing, but the best we could manage with our failing engines. The impact was tremendous, a bone-jarring crash that threw us against our harnesses as the bomber skidded across sand and rocks before coming to rest in a cloud of sand and steam from the overheated engines. For several seconds, none of us moved. The sudden silence after hours of engine noise was deafening. Then Pharaoh's voice cut through the quiet. "Everybody okay?" One by one, we reported in. Deschizzer had a cut on his forehead from impact with his bombsight, and Spatz had wrenched his shoulder, but we were all alive and functional. It was a miracle. The Mitchell had absorbed the impact of the crash landing. Her aluminum skin crumpled and torn, but her crew compartment intact. We evacuated the bomber quickly, grabbing our emergency kits and destroying sensitive materials as we'd been trained. The beach was deserted, but we could see lights from what appeared to be a small village about a mile inland. The question now was whether we'd landed in Japanese-occupied territory or in the Chinese mainland controlled by Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist forces. "Where do you think we are?" Deschizzer asked, shouldering his emergency pack as we walked away from the wreckage. I checked my dead reckoning plot one last time. Based on our final position, we should be somewhere on the Chinese coast near the city of Ningpo. But the war had made this entire region a dangerous maze of competing armies, Japanese occupation forces, Chinese nationalist troops, communist guerrillas, and local warlords who might side with anyone depending on the circumstances. "China, I hope," I replied. "But we won't know for sure until we meet the locals." As darkness fell, we made our way toward the village lights, following a narrow path that wound through rice paddies and small farm plots. The air was warm and humid, filled with the scents of growing crops and wood smoke from cooking fires. In the distance, we could hear voices speaking what sounded like Chinese, but we had no way of knowing whether they belonged to friends or enemies. Our first encounter came at a small farmhouse on the outskirts of the village. An elderly Chinese man emerged from the building, carrying a lantern and speaking rapidly in what I assumed was a local dialect. He seemed surprised to see 4 American airmen in flight suits, but not hostile. "American," Pharaoh said slowly, pointing to himself and then to each of us in turn. "America. Friends of China." The old man nodded and gestured for us to follow him into his house. Inside, his family had gathered around a small table, a woman who appeared to be his wife, 2 younger men who might have been his sons, and several children who stared at us with wide, curious eyes. They offered us rice and tea, the first food we'd had since breakfast aboard the Hornet. Through gestures and the few Chinese phrases we remembered from our intelligence briefings, we tried to explain who we were and what we needed. The word Japan produced immediate understanding and what appeared to be approval. These people clearly had no love for the Japanese occupiers. One of the younger men left the house and returned an hour later with 2 other Chinese men who spoke broken English. Through them, we learned that we had indeed reached the Chinese mainland, but in an area that was technically under Japanese control. However, the local population was largely sympathetic to the nationalist cause and hostile to the occupying forces. Japanese soldiers. "Here," one of them explained in halting English, gesturing toward the east. "Many soldiers. You, dangerous." They explained that a Japanese patrol was based in a town about 10 miles away and regularly swept through the area, looking for Chinese resistance fighters and downed Allied airmen. If we were captured, we would likely face execution as war criminals. The Japanese had made it clear that they considered the Doolittle raiders to be terrorists rather than legitimate military personnel. Our new friends offered to guide us to a nationalist outpost about 50 miles inland, where we could make contact with American intelligence officers who were working with the Chinese resistance. But the journey would be dangerous, requiring us to move only at night and avoid the main roads where Japanese patrols were common. For the next 3 days, we moved slowly westward through the Chinese countryside, guided by a network of farmers and villagers who risked their lives to help us. During the day, we hid in barns, root cellars, and abandoned buildings. At night, we walked through rice paddies and mountain trails, following guides who knew every path and hiding place in their territory. The landscape was both beautiful and alien to boys from small American towns. Terraced hillsides covered with rice and vegetables stretched as far as the eye could see, while ancient temples and traditional villages dotted the valleys. The people we encountered were invariably kind and generous, sharing their meager food supplies and offering what shelter they could despite the obvious danger of harboring American fugitives. On our 4th night in China, everything went wrong. We were moving through a small valley about 30 miles inland from our crash site when our guide suddenly stopped and held up his hand for silence. In the distance, we could hear the sound of engines, vehicles moving along the main road that paralleled our route. Then came the unmistakable sound-off military commands being shouted in Japanese. "Soldiers," our guide whispered in broken English. "Many soldiers. They know. You hear." Someone had betrayed us. Whether it was one of the villagers we'd encountered or simply bad luck that led a Japanese patrol to our area, we were now being actively hunted. The sound of vehicles grew louder, accompanied by the barking of dogs and the harsh illumination of searchlights sweeping the countryside. "This way," our guide urged, leading us toward a cluster of farm buildings where we might find temporary shelter. But as we approached the structures, figures emerged from the shadows, Japanese soldiers in full combat equipment, their rifles pointed directly at us. "Halt!" The command came in accented English from a Japanese officer who stepped forward into the moonlight. "American airmen. You surrender now." We were trapped. Behind us, more soldiers emerged from concealment, at least a dozen men with automatic weapons trained on our position. To run would mean certain death, and our guides had already melted away into the darkness, wisely preserving themselves for another day's resistance. Pharaoh raised his hand slowly, and the rest of us followed his lead. Our war was over, but our real ordeal was just beginning. The Japanese captain who commanded the patrol was a thin, precise man who spoke excellent English. He informed us that we were being arrested as war criminals for the illegal bombing of civilian targets in Japan. Under interrogation that began immediately, he made it clear that we could expect no protection under the Geneva Convention. "You are not prisoners of war," he explained coldly as his soldiers bound our hands with rope. "You are terrorists who have attacked defenseless civilians. The penalty for such crimes is death." We were transported back to the coast and then by boat to Shanghai, where we were imprisoned in a military detention facility. The conditions were deliberately harsh: solitary confinement in tiny cells, minimal food, and constant interrogation designed to extract intelligence about American military capabilities and future operations. For weeks, Japanese intelligence officers questioned us about every aspect of our mission: how many bombers had participated, what our targets had been, where we had launched from, and what other operations might be planned against the homeland. They were particularly interested in our aircraft carrier operations and the technical capabilities of the B-25 Mitchell bomber. We followed our training and provided only name, rank, and serial number, despite increasingly harsh treatment designed to break our resistance. The Japanese clearly believed that if they could extract intelligence from the Doolittle raiders, they could prevent future attacks on their homeland. On August 15, 1942, exactly 4 months after our raid, 8 of us who had been captured were put on trial in Shanghai as war criminals. The charges included the deliberate bombing of schools and hospitals, though we knew we had targeted only military and industrial facilities. The trial was a sham, conducted entirely in Japanese with no defense counsel and predetermined conclusions. All 8 of us were sentenced to death. However, 3 days later, our sentences were commuted to life imprisonment, except for Dean Hallmark, William Farrow, and Harold Spatz. They would be executed as examples to other American airmen who might consider attacking Japan. I learned later that Spatz, my own tail gunner, the quiet farm boy from Kansas who had manned our defensive guns with such skill, was among those executed by firing squad on October 15, 1942. Bill Farrow, my pilot and friend, the steady-handed Southerner who had brought us safely across the Pacific and bombed Tokyo before crash landing on that Chinese beach, died alongside them. The knowledge that my crewmates had paid with their lives for our mission would haunt me through the long years of imprisonment that followed. We had succeeded in our primary objective, bombing Japan and demonstrating that their homeland was vulnerable to American attack. But the cost had been terrible, and it was only beginning. The surviving 5 of us, myself, Jake Deschesser, Lieutenant Robert Meader, Lieutenant Chase Nielsen, and Corporal Donald Fitzmaurice, were transferred to a military prison in Nanking, where we would spend the next 3 years under conditions that tested the limits of human endurance. But that, as they say, is another story. What I want you to remember about April 18, 1942, is not the suffering that followed, but the moment when 16 American bombers rose from the deck of the Hornet into an uncertain sky, carrying with them the hopes of a nation that had been battered but not broken. We were not professional warriors, not seasoned combat veterans hardened by years of conflict. We were farm boys and mechanics, teachers and clerks, ordinary Americans who had volunteered for an extraordinary mission because our country needed us to prove that distance was no protection for those who had attacked us. The Doolittle raid accomplished far more than the physical damage we inflicted on Japanese industrial targets. It served notice to the world that American military power could reach anywhere, that no enemy was safe behind barriers of geography or presumptions of invulnerability. It lifted American morale at a time when we desperately needed a victory, however costly. Most importantly, it demonstrated that ordinary Americans, given proper training and leadership, were capable of extraordinary courage and sacrifice. Colonel Doolittle and his raiders proved that the same spirit that had carried our nation through the Revolutionary War and the Civil War was alive and well in the generation that would win World War II. The price was terrible. Of the 80 men who launched from the Hornet that morning, 3 were executed, 5 were held as prisoners of war, and 4 died in various crashes and accidents related to the mission. But their sacrifice was not in vain. The raid marked the beginning of America's offensive campaign against Japan, a campaign that would culminate 3 years later in the surrender ceremony aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. As I write these words more than 70 years after that stormy morning in the North Pacific, I can still hear the sound of the Wright Cyclone engines spinning up for takeoff, still feel the deck of the Hornet pitching beneath my feet as we prepared to launch into history. I can still see the faces of my crewmates, Bill Farrow's steady concentration as he held the controls, Jake Deschesser's quiet intensity as he prepared our bombs, Harold Spatz's farm boy grin as he checked his guns one last time. They were the best of America, brave, determined, and utterly committed to the cause of freedom. Their courage in the face of almost certain death reminds us that the price of liberty is indeed eternal vigilance, and that sometimes ordinary people must rise to extraordinary challenges. The mission was called the Doolittle Raid, but those of us who flew it knew it by another name. The day we carried the war to the enemy's doorstep and proved that America would never surrender, never accept defeat, and never stop fighting until freedom was secure for future generations. That was our gift to the world, paid for with the lives of better men than I. It was our honor to serve, our privilege to fight, and our duty to remember those who gave everything so that others might live free. The Hornet has long since gone to her rest beneath the Pacific waves, and most of the men who flew from her deck that April morning have joined their shipmates in whatever harbor waits beyond this life. But the memory of what we accomplished and what it cost must never be forgotten. We were Doolittle's raiders, and we brought the war home to Japan when America needed it most. That is our legacy, written in smoke and flame across the sky above Tokyo, carved in courage and sacrifice that will endure as long as people value freedom over tyranny, hope over despair, and the willingness to fight for what is right over the comfort of surrender.